Tell me, is it me? Am I old and jaded being an asshole to these movies, or are they being an asshole to us? I'm serious. Happening, folks. I have been away for a while. I am very glad to be back. I have a lot of things planned for 2024, one of which being, well, I'll give you a hint. I'll be introducing a couple of new things over the next few months, but today we're keeping it grassroots. We're going to watch Spiral from the Book of Saw, which is probably just a convoluted way of saying this movie's not going to be any good, but remember those Saw movies? Spiral is a 2021 American horror thriller directed by Darren Bozeman. Darren, of course, directed 2 or 3 of the Saw films after the original, which in my opinion was the best. Spiral is a spin-off starring Chris Rock, Max Minghella, Marisol Nichols, and Samuel Jackson. Samuel Jackson. I'm a big Tarantino fan. Let's see if I can still do this. Hold on. The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the inequities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers, and you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee. Woo! Anyways, the story follows police efforts to stop a Jigsaw copycat killer. And James Wan, Lee Winnell, Chris Rock, and series veteran Kevin Grutert serve as executive producers. Now, that last part could prove interesting. Executive producer status in Hollywood terms can mean a zillion different things, ranging from hands-on helping with the actual production to just lending your name to add some clout to the project in exchange for a portion of the profits, of course. I'm also aware this movie was Chris Rock's baby. Apparently the whole thing was basically his idea. He said he loved the series and he wanted to prove he could act outside of his usual comedy routines. So let's find out if he can. Shall we? The movie starts with a cameo by Miami Vice's Don Johnson, apparently. Don's been out of the policing game a while, seeing as he just got head faked into chasing a purse snatcher down into a dark service tunnel. And given how cool Don Johnson he's still alive, right? He thinks to hell with protocol and procedure and backup, and he heads down into the dark alone after the perp. And I guess this is what happens when a Crockett doesn't have a Tubbs. So somebody in a pig mask snuck up behind Don Johnson and chloroformed him, and as somebody who wore pink and blue at the same time on purpose, because of Miami Vice, I am a bit disappointed. How exactly do you sneak up on a seasoned cop in a wide open, totally silent location? And did you know, if you soaked a cloth with chloroform and held it over your own mouth and nose, it would take about 5 actual minutes before you blinked out. Look it up. And hopefully, if any of you at home are in the process of planning an abduction, maybe you'll find that tidbit of info helpful. Hang on a second here. The Jigsaw wannabe Pigsaw, obviously, knocked Don Johnson out, carried him to this trap he must have had waiting for him, then suspended him by his tongue so if his legs gave out, he'd lose it. And this was a punishment for lying on the witness stand in court, the insinuation being obviously he's a dirty cop. Now, we've just watched him wake up. Could anybody please help me understand how he kept himself upright before he woke up? Less than 5 minutes in, and we're there already, my friends. I have said it a million times. If the movie respects me for giving it my time and my money, sometimes my money, I will gladly reciprocate. Now, otherwise, you are in trouble now, Mr. Pigsaw. It's a good thing he woke up just in time for the educational video. That wouldn't have been fair at all if he slept through that. Where the hell did Pigsaw plug in the TV? And subway stations are spilling over with security cameras. They freaking have to be. You know what they should have done to plug all these early plot holes and stop my brain from focusing on these early plot holes? They should have had an airline hostess waiting for him when he woke up. We'd like to thank you for choosing Pigsaw as your means of torturous payback, and at this time we'd like to ask you to keep your thigh muscles in the upright position to prolong your eventual descent just long enough to make it exciting for the sadistic bastards watching from home.
You have taken the witness stand.
That voice is insulting to Tobin Bell. It sounds like somebody told ChatGPT to read the dialogue like a hearing-impaired 6-year-old. Perfect. This is what I'm here for. This is Chris Rock in a horror setting. In the little clip I read, he said he loved the Saw movies and he thought they were missing humor. After listening to this opening scene's dialogue, I'm gonna suggest first, he was wrong. And second, if he thought this tone was going to work with these movies, I'm also going to suggest he might have been lying about being an actual Saw fan. Okay, now Chris and his crew just robbed a room full of drug dealers, and being a life and death smash and grab kind of scenario, he decided to scream at the top of his lungs right in the middle of it like he's in a music video. And then they get busted immediately by the police. Probably because they heard him screaming 6 blocks away back at the police station. He's with the police, and I guess the lowly beat cops blew his cover? That old boring chestnut? Oh, his angry police captain chews him out for going undercover without telling the police, so he's a cop in this. He organized something this intricate and complex with a whole group of criminals, any of whom presumably could have messed up and got him killed without even telling his superiors he was doing it? If that wasn't dumb enough on its own, he also did it to such a shit standard that they were all caught before they even got all the way down the stairs? We're not even 10 minutes into this thing and my brain's already scrambled, folks. What the hell kind of lead character is this? If he did this behind his boss's back and he pulled it off, you'd think, okay, non-traditional approach, but he succeeded. Whereas he did it behind his boss's back and got caught. And then his angry captain calls him reckless and dangerous as per every shitty crime drama ever to appear in a cinema. And his angry captain tells him he has to take on a rookie partner, which of course he refuses to do as per every shitty crime drama ever to appear in cinema. And finally, his angry captain reminds him his father was a stellar police officer as per every... In summary, we're not even 10 minutes into it yet, and it's unrealistic both procedurally and physically. The dialogue makes no sense, meaning it feels like a mashup of one of the shit Saw movies and one of Chris Rock's Netflix specials, and it would appear they have no interest in creating an original story. This is like doing a half-assed tracing over somebody else's artwork and then selling it at a flea market. Anyways, after getting chewed out by his angry captain, Chris meets the new rookie partner who I know from another movie. It's on the tip of my tongue. And when Chris comes back to his desk, he finds a big dead rat. Imagine if that happened in one of our current real-life workplaces. Like, you can't even talk about what TV programs you watched at the weekend and work anymore. God forbid you accidentally send one of your colleagues into a frickin' panic attack when the 22 minutes of weekly comedy you prefer gives them a glint of insight into your personal frickin' political views. What if he just... Did I hear that right? How fucking creepy would that be? Chris's new rookie partner told him Chris's dad made him want to be a cop. Like, not his own dad, Chris's dad. And they head off to Don Johnson's tongue scene, and in keeping with this movie's realism, Chris has an amazing car. I'll let that go though. I like that car. I actually had the Hot Wheels version of that as a kid. I did. And back at the station, Pigsaw sends a thumb drive to Chris, and they spend the next few minutes showing us in the audience Pigsaw killed the cop in the opening scene, which is the exact same thing as starting The Empire Strikes Back with Darth Vader opening a letter confirming paternity. They're dedicating a lot of time to showing his rookie partner acting like he's upset by the blood and the guts, and that could mean... This is disappointing. Chris Rock must be improvising half of his lines. Every time he opens his mouth, it's just his stand-up. And for the record, I used to like his stand-up. It just isn't making a whole lot of sense next to photos of Tobin Bell. I'm not sure if I'm missing something, but Chris keeps making really exaggerated facial expressions that aren't lining up with what's actually happening. What the hell was that? And that? And that? What the hell? He goes to visit Don Johnson's widow, and it goes all violins and moistness. And Chris's ex-wife is there too, and they throw in a single line about her not letting him see his kid, and that's the end of their discussion. This is Jonny from the future, and I am here to protect your feelings. If you were worried about Chris's marriage in this movie, they never bring it up again. She never even appears in the movie again, and we are left caring about somebody that clearly doesn't care about us. But always remember, folks, I will always care about you, even if Chris Rock and his wife don't. This has to be a piss take. In attempting to prove he can act, he comforts Don Johnson's widow by talking to her like this and going like this with his face. That would definitely make things worse for her. I really appreciate you coming round, Chris Rock, but do you need me to call you an ambulance or something? Last time I was at the doctor's, I was reading this pamphlet on aneurysms and... Busted! I knew it. Now they just showed the rookie partner playing with some kids from the neighborhood, and that is a cheap tool to make the audience think he's a good guy. Think about Christopher Reeve saving the cat from the tree in the original Superman in 1978. It's the exact same thing. But being a supposed horror movie, that's probably a trick to get us thinking he is a good guy, so at the end, our minds will be totally blown when we find out he's not. And back at Chris's gigantic, open concept, beautiful studio apartment, which of course he would need to match the Hot Wheels car on his cop salary, we meet Samuel Jackson, who's playing his dad and his landlord. So unusual and unexplained giant streams of passive income just run in this family, I suppose. And why is Samuel Jackson playing 58-year-old Chris Rock's retired cop dad when he looks the same age as him and probably healthier, you ask? I am going to guess it's because Samuel Jackson is the highest grossing actor in the world. I mean, if you're going to go to the trouble of tracing over somebody else's artwork, you might as well do it with the fanciest pencil you can afford. Okay, so the other cops think Chris is a rat because he turned in a dirty cop a decade ago for shooting a witness. So that means, folks, our main character is a good guy with morals who does things behind his boss's back without being smart enough to pull them off, whose jokes are mostly racial, which is old, boring, and easy, while he has a child he's not allowed to see. Standard Hollywood hero, right? Very easy to root for him to do well. Ha! Rookie partner just borrowed Chris's phone, which is weird and awkward. I'm gonna guess he's Pigsaw. 95%. Two of the cops go into a gun shop to check security footage of a guy who may be responsible for Don Johnson's tonguing. When they're leaving, one of the supposed crooked cops takes a gun without paying for it to avoid using his service weapon in the commission of a crime, I'm assuming? But he took it from the shop owner directly, who would have had all the registration information, and if the weapon got traced back to him, obviously he's gonna tell them the cop took it. What the hell's happening in this movie? He's Pigsaw. That's it. I'm calling it, folks. That look right there. That's it. Pigsaw. Done deal. What the hell was the other movie he was in? Joe Hill novel turned into a movie. Dickhead rat. Horns. Horns. He was in Horns. And he played the exact same kind of fake friend character. That was a good movie, actually. Horns. So the crooked cop with the crooked stolen gun goes into an empty warehouse to track down the suspect they're looking for, and when he gets there, Captain Chloroform strikes again. Only this cop passes out before he's even had time to inhale, and that is two seasoned police officers snuck up on from behind in totally silent, wide-open environments. And he wakes up in a totally elaborate yet somehow also totally boring trap, complete with LED lighting and a full massive tank of water. Very stealthy. It's like Pigsaw's auditioning to get his work on to Pimp My Torture Trap. You know how long it would take just to fill the tank with water? A delivery comes for Chris, and they suspect it's from Pigsaw. The fucking police officer carries it all the way through the precinct with an extended arm like it's a tissue somebody blew their nose with. Good thing it wasn't fucking anthrax. Never mind, they don't bring in a bomb tech or containment unit. He doesn't even put gloves on, and everyone's standing around him while he's opening it. Did nobody learn anything from Ted Kaczynski?
Hello, Detective Banks.
This has to be a piss take. Who are they trying to intimidate with that voice? It's like Charlie Brown's teacher before she had the stroke. So they all head to the factory to find the other cop done in. Look at the size of that stainless steel tank. I mean, of course, Jigsaw's stuff was sometimes excessive and stupid, but it was purpose-built and mostly, like, tucked away. Pigsaw might as well have dragged a fucking oil rig in from a field in West Texas. No idea where that came from. Oh, this is going to be good. They head to a meth house next and, just briefly, rip off Pulp Fiction. I don't know if I mentioned, I'm a really big fan of Tarantino. I didn't? Well, watch this. The path of the righteous man is beset. Chris sends an exploding ink cartridge up, and it goes off in the drug dealer's face, and then Chris and Pigsaw make it up 4 flights of stairs in under 10 seconds, so Chris can break the drug dealer's leg and launch another of his Netflix monologues. For the record, I love crime horrors when they're done properly. The restrictions placed on the cops create like a natural, believable tension. The same's true on the other side. When the villains are able to sidestep police procedures, it implies, like at very least, they're competent and they've put a lot of thought into the crime. 7 is my number 1 crime horror, followed very closely, I think, by Silence of the Lambs. Both of them keep things very realistic in terms of police procedure. This movie's not taking anything seriously beyond Chris Rock trying to come off as witty. They go visit the cop Chris ratted out, and this is the second time they've showed us the exact same scene with the cop shooting the witness and Chris asking him why he did it. Another delivery shows up, only this time the box is way bigger, so all the cops point their guns at it like a fucking tiny bad guy's gonna jump out of it or something. The courier gets the same treatment the one from 7 got. Rip off. And again, no shields, no bulletproof vests, no gloves. Oh, the angry looking cop wants to call the bomb squad because he's worried the box is going to explode, and you're thinking, fucking finally, logic, somebody's got their head screwed on right. But the captain tells them there's no time for the bomb squad because they already have 2 dead cops. So they clear the place out in case it is a bomb, and then the cop who wanted to call the bomb squad, the one who just cleared the precinct out for safety, leans over it. Tell me, is it me? Am I old and jaded being an asshole to these movies, or are they being an asshole to us? I'm serious. Then angry cop reaches right into the mess with bare hands and pulls something out. No forensic procedures to follow to protect potential evidence. No gloves either, and he's just reached into what's supposed to be the rookie partner's skin. Which, there's no way it actually is because he's clearly Pigsaw. Okay, there is officially something wrong with Chris Rock's face. Somebody must have broke it at a Hollywood party or something. Seriously. What the hell is that? That's him pondering, and that's him pondering even harder, and that's him upset by what he's pondering about. Pigsaw lures the boss lady into the basement of the police station, where he has another elaborate machine set up, only this one kind of looks like if the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz had a granddad whose primary purpose was distilling moonshine. And it comes complete with CGI steam. CGI steam. CGI steam. This production determined it would be cheaper to have a VFX artist create steam than to boil some water. There definitely wouldn't be any security cameras in this scenario either, not in a police evidence room where all the jewelry and fun bags of cocaine are filed away. Now, her trap, admittedly, has me a little confused. Correct me if I'm wrong, folks, but doesn't hot wax cool down, like, immediately when it hits something or leaves the source of the heat? Now that I think about it, I probably won't get a lot of comments on this specific point because it would mean you'd be admitting to having experience with these kinds of things. Or maybe I'll get loads of responses. Some of my subscribers are pretty hardcore. By the time Chris gets back into the basement of the police station, directly below an entire department full of police, I should remind you, he's too late, and his angry captain looks like when E.T. got kicked into the creek. Or like a Reuben deli sandwich before the guy behind the counter puts mustard all over it. And then Chris makes this face, only it's in slow motion this time, and we are treated to the first original shot in the entire film as far as I can tell. Have any of you ever seen a hallway in an official building lit exclusively with green light bulbs? Neither have I.
You're too close to this thing, Zeke!
Oh my god, you're too close to this thing. This cannot be serious. That is not real dialogue. That's children's writing. So Chris goes off looking for Samuel Jackson, aka his dad, aka Jules Winfield from Pulp Fiction. Remember when movies were good? And he goes into this church and he gets chloroformed too. And when he wakes up, he finds himself cuffed to a pipe like a Saw movie, I suppose. Now, I'm not going to hold that against them either. I am not a fan of sequels and prequels and reboots and any other label they choose to put on. I am not creative enough to come up with my own ideas. But in defense of sequels and prequels and reboots, the idea of honoring canon and the originals in general, you're never going to win that one. Either you're straight up copying or you're ignoring what made the originals great. Having said that, how do you avoid that issue 100% of the time? You get a pen and some paper, and you write your own fucking movie. Chris finds a woman's bobby pin on the ground within arm's reach. It definitely looks like the kind of place a lot of women would pass through playing with their hair. And he finds the other crooked cop he put in jail hanging from a pipe, so he puts his suspicious face on. For reference, that's this one. Don't confuse it with his "I've left my reading glasses at home and I'm having trouble with the expiry date on this milk" face right here. They're very similar but different. And welcome to Chris Rock's masterclass in acting. The machinery starts up and Chris puts his evaluation face on, and when he realizes there's no possible way to evaluate the machine because it's driving broken glass through metal, even though glass shatters when it hits metal because of physics, he runs away. With enough glass in his head to kill an actual pig, I'm guessing, yet there's still no agony in his expression. Rather ironically, at this stage in the movie, his face is causing me a lot of agony. And he climbs up 65 flights of stairs where he meets his rookie partner, aka Pigsaw. The dirty cop Chris put in jail for murdering the witness, Pigsaw is the dead witness's son. And we know that because we're shown the scene a third time in its entirety. Again. Now Pigsaw has Samuel Jackson in a trap, and he tells him the only way out is to follow the path of the righteous man is beset on. This is the dumbest trap I've ever seen in this entire franchise. And yep, that includes the stupid brazen bull death of yummy Gina Holden in Saw, is it 7? What the fuck? Pigsaw emptied the gun, so there's one bullet left. Chris has to choose whether he uses the single bullet in the gun to hit the target to release his dad or to shoot Pigsaw. Now think about that for a second. Pigsaw, the genius, orchestrated this ending. If it was me, I'd shoot the target and then beat Pigsaw with the butt of the gun, or I'd choke him out. I mean, look at him. He's a tiny little petite fella. That's the end. It's over? That's the ending? Half the police in the city are there, and that means the other half are downstairs posted all around the building, sitting in cars, watching every exit and entrance with their guns drawn, I'm pretty sure. That's it. It's over. I am at a bit of a loss. I'm not sure what I was expecting, but I was definitely expecting more. Well, Chris Rock, it's been 2 years since you made this. I'm sure you've heard everything I have to say already, but just in case. This story was as interesting as reading a soup label off a can. Racially themed jokes have felt like low-hanging fruit for over a decade, and I have no patience for them anymore. The traps were unimaginative compared to even the shit ones in this series, and by focusing on punishing corrupt cops, you've completely missed Jigsaw's point. There were no life lessons learned here. Nobody had any chances surviving. And when you use a movie franchise to push political messages, you get exactly what you deserve in the box office. Which is exactly why a movie with Chris Rock and Samuel Jackson only made $40 million. In this day and age, that's like curiosity money. And finally, stick to Netflix, dude. You can't act. If you haven't seen this movie already, hopefully I have saved you from having to part with your own curiosity money. If you have seen the movie, tell me what you think down in the comments. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Hit the like button, consider subscribing, all the YouTube bullshit. And until next time, folks,